Hello and welcome to our talk.
Yeah, today we're going to make a video about the linguistic database, on how to use it, how to create new rules, new phrases, how to upload it to your robot. So, first of all, let's introduce ourselves. This is Anastasia Savinova.
And Daniel Shaurin, the specialists of the linguistic database in Promobot.
Okay, so what is the linguistic database? It is the question and answer system, and so basically it is a system of questions and answers for the robot to learn. So, for example, if you want to upload anything to the robot, you just upload a rule, right? And you upload the trigger for this rule, which words should trigger the rule, and you upload the phrase, you upload the text of the phrase or of the rule. So rules are basically the instructions. If a person said A, the robot needs to answer B, for example. If a person says, "What time is it?" the robot answers, "It is 3 p.m. now." Phrases, which are the instructions. If A happens to the robot, then the robot needs to say B. As an example, if a robot detects a human face, it says, "Welcome, human." Controller-activated phrases are the phrases activated with the help of the controller. For example, the robot is supposed to work within a scenario at the stage. Or a news reporter wants the robot to pronounce a certain phrase for a couple of times in a row. A specific mode is activated and the robot only speaks when it is supposed to. The anchors section will allow you to create anchors, to assign them to your rules or phrases. They are required to create special links between the phrases and rules, making it possible for you to create a complex dialogue. The category section allows you to create a new category and assign it to a rule or a phrase, which will help you not to get lost, especially if you have a lot of them. Cases are an unusual entity. For now, let's just say they allow you to create a separated linguistic database within the linguistic database. Sounds complicated? Because it is. We'll get back to it later. In the analytics section, let me click it. In the analytics sections, we have visitor dialogues and visitor dialogues full. You can take a look at what people asked the robot. So, let us start with the rules section, shall we?
Okay, a good summary.
So, and again, rules are the instructions for the robot. If you hear A, answer B. Regular questions such as, "What time is it?" "How are you?" or "Tell me about your product," and rules. To create a rule, you need to click the big green Create button in the upper left corner of the page. Like this. To delete a rule, you need to click the Delete button in the form of a trash bin. The rule will be deleted from the system completely. It will be impossible to restore it. Like this. So, now when we spoke about deleting rule, and of course you have to refresh the page after that. So this is one rule here we have. First, let's speak about the main fields of the rule, which are robot hears, or question, and answer, or robot answers. So let's press edit, and then we get access to those fields. As we can see here, that in the question field we have hello, what's up, greet, tilde, and we have it here separated by asterisk right here and right there. So let's speak about the special signs we use here, and of course we have brackets here. This field is responsible for the trigger of the activation of the rule. As you can see, the brackets are used to make a list of the words which can activate the rule. You should write them like this. So these are basically the synonyms, the context synonyms right here. The asterisk means any amount of word or lack of any amount of words. A phrase like, "Dear friend, hello," will of course trigger this rule. However, if we delete this one right here, and then we're going to ask the robot, "Dear friend, hello," it is not going to activate the rule. So let's get it back. What about this sign? It is called tilde, right? This allows us to replace any amount of letters or lack of any letters in the word. If we put greet and then if we put this sign, then it is going to work this way. Greetings, greets, greet, so it is going to work like this. We can also put it in the beginning of the word and it is going to work the same, but it will replace the beginning of the word. Okay, of course you can have multiple words here. You can have hello in this line, and we have good afternoon, morning, or evening. So this field can be triggered by the phrase good evening, good morning, or good afternoon. Of course, if you add too many words to this field, for example, if you add 5 words in a row, then the rule will be too complicated to be triggered, because it is very difficult sometimes for a robot to hear a long phrase exactly how you pronounce it, and I wouldn't recommend to do it. So that was it about the robot hears field. But of course, what you actually can do, you can add something like this. Let me add it here. If you add it like this, this is a macro yes, which consists of all the types of affirmative answers. Okay, for example, yes, of course, agree, stuff like this. About the robot, yeah?
So, and the same about the no macro.
Yeah, the same about the no macro. I think that you can get more details about that on the instructions, about the guide or the manual of the linguistic database. To add a new field, you need to click here, Add Question. To delete it, you need to press minus. If you want to copy the content, the field, you need to press this and it will copy to clipboard. Also, you can select multiple questions and delete them at the same time by pressing minus. Now about this second most important field of the rule. It is called the answer, or the robot answers, and we can see here that we have hello dear human. This is the phrase which will be pronounced by the robot when the rule is triggered, when the rule is activated. You can add your text here, but make sure not to make this text too long, that it won't be, appropriate, because the intonations of the robot, they are not as perfect as humans. Its speech is quite monotonous, so don't make this field too big, too huge. Let's pass to the other fields, I believe. Okay, so first, this one allows us to select multiple rules to do something with them. Right now we have only one. This field allows us to activate or deactivate the rule. If we press it, so if it is green, the rule is active. If it is red, the rule is inactive.
Yeah, it's good to just deactivate the phrases, not to delete them, especially if you want to use them sometime later. So maybe if you take part in a conference and you've created a lot of rules, you might need them later, next year, for example. And you know that you already have these rules in your database, but they're not used by the robot when you don't need them.
Okay, so this field allows us to switch on or switch off the rule. This field is the ID of the rule. If you have any problems or issues with your rules, you just copy this and paste it to the conversation with the technical support of Promobot, and we'll take care about it. Because it is easy for us to find a specific rule. This field is for changing the language. If you click it, you have a list of languages here, and you can change the language of the rule. This field allows you to change the priority of the rule. By default, all the rules are created with the high priority, but you can change it and make it a low priority rule. What's the difference between low priority and high priority? High priority is the general one. It is for most of the rules, and the low priority is mostly for the rules which consist of one or a few words and which are usually not that sensible. So, for example, we can have a rule how, right? And we don't want it to be in high priority. We just put it into the low priority. And the answer for how will be something like, I have no idea how. Because it will, if a person comes up to the robot and asks something like, how to create a new company, then, and the robot has no answer for it, it will go lower and lower and lower, and it will answer, how? I have no idea how. That's it. So this was it about the priority. Now, what we have here is we have an owner of the robot. As we can see, this demo owner, which we created just for demonstration purposes. We also have the robot. By default, it is set to default. So, and it means that the rule which you created will be active on all of the robots of this owner. If we click it, we can change it. Well, of course, here we don't have any robots. But if you create a rule and you set it as a rule for a specific robot, the rule will be active only on that robot. Next one is the case. It allows us to create complex scenarios. For example, one of our robots work in a museum, and when the robot comes up to an exhibit which is called a bridge, it understands that using its sensors, and it uploads the database which is called bridge. And it helps the robot to have some kind of a context, you know. For example, somebody asks the robot, how tall is it? And the robot will understand that the person is asking about the height of the bridge, not about anything else. But when the robot continues its tour, when it goes to the next exhibit, which is, for example, a tunnel, and the answer will be something like, how long is it? The robot will understand that now the question is about the tunnel, not about the bridge. But if you do not use any kind of complex cases or stuff like this, we wouldn't recommend you to mess with the cases. So to activate a case, what you need to do is you need to use the action field. You need to type like this. This will activate the case test by extending your database and putting this case on the top of it. But if we write it like this, then the case will replace all the database of the robot. You can read more about it in the linguistic database guide. The next one is the category, and it allows us to sort our rules by categories. I would say that it is mostly used for grouping up the rules, just to make sure that it is easier for you to understand what you have, what you don't have. Here we have a field commentary or comment. And you can just leave your comment here, something like this. So this comment doesn't affect anything, and it's only for you and for other people who work with the database. It can also be used for grouping up your rules or your phrases. Next one is the field created by, and we can see here that the creator of the rule is demo owner. Here we have last edited, and you can see that it was last edited by demo owner user. So, for example, if you have a bunch of people working on the same database, then it will be easier for you to track the activity. This button will allow you to save the rule, but you need to remember that each time when you change the field and you press accept, then it is going to be saved. This button is mostly for changing the condition of the phrase or of the rule, and this one is viewing mode. This one is editing mode. Here we have a special button for cloning rules, and if we press it, you can see that we have exactly the same rule right there. This button will allow you to delete, as we've discussed it previously. We spoke about this one and that one. This one allows you to specify the answer of the robot. So if we click here, we can choose a man or a woman, And this answer of exactly this rule will be given only to men or to women. How can we use it actually? For example, you have a robot which works in a trade center or something, and if a man comes up to it and asks the robot, hey, could you please show me some cool stuff here? Then the answer will be the nearest bar probably is right around the corner and show the way to the bar. But for a woman, so here you can choose the age, show something like the nearest car dealership for middle-aged men, or a video games shop for children. This field allows you to choose the facial expression of the robot. By default it is usual, but you can have it surprised, angry, sad, laughing, smiling, scanning, or you can choose the emotion hearts. I would say it is adored by all the women
Yes.
which come up to the robot. So I strongly recommend it. Smiling is good for adding phrases which are just friendly. Laughing is good for jokes. That's it. What for can we use? The field link is used to activate different files. For example, we can have a file hello mp4, and then if we have it right there, then if the rule is activated, the file will be played at the same time when the rule is activated. You can see the whole list of the supported formats in the database guide. Also, you can copy and paste a link to a web resource, for example, to your page, to your Facebook account, or something like this, if you want it to be opened when the rule is activated. Next one is the action field, and the action field is used for launching the MP3s, right? So, for example, if we need to put it like this, play hello.mp3. And then, if you do it like this, then the file hello.mp3 will be played. How to upload these files to the robot? You need to put them on a memory stick, you need to plug it into the robot, and then you need to open a special menu on it in the settings, and then just upload the files. The robot understands the format of the files and it uploads them to a specific category, so it will be no mistake with them. You just cannot upload an MP3 file to the video folder, for example, and that's why you don't have to specify the exact path to those files right here. All you need to do is just type the name of the file.
Right, and another way to play an MP3 file is to put this very phrase into the robot hears field in the curved brackets. And that means that this file will be played only after the robot pronounces the text.
Yes, correct.
Let's pay more attention to the action field. There we can also write scripts.
Oh, of course.
The actions of the robot, and we have a certain list of scripts that are available. You can find them in the manual. You should put the word script and then the name of the script. And that means then that when this rule is activated, the robot will pronounce the text and action. For example, here, it will shake your hand.
Also, we can use this field for the applications. For example, if we can press edit, if we put it like this, then it will activate the meeting or the acquaintance application, which will allow the robot to remember faces of people who's in front of.
Also, you can launch the application, photo application, and
photo, meeting,
and also the loyalty program.
We can launch the application which is called Data Collect Once. You'll get the exact look of it from the guide.
So when you launch this application, the robot asks you about your name, surname, email, phone number, and records a video. That's it, I think.
So now I think it was it about the rule, right?
And we should mention that you can add any number of answer variants.
Yeah, if you click plus, you can add them, and if you click minus, you can delete them. Okay, great. These fields are used, for example, you can filter by language, by case, anchor, category, priority, activity, and we can search for a specific rule using this field. We need to put some words there, and we can specify it right here. So for example, we can look in the case or in the link field.
Comment.
Yeah, and then you press show and it will filter all of your rules. These fields are used for copying the rules. So for example, you have these two rules and you want to copy them. Now we're going to do it. We choose the owner, and then we can specify or we can omit it. So robot, language, case, category, and if we want, we can add a comment. But we're not going to do it. We are going to do it like this. Okay. Now it said that the operation was queued. We need to wait a little bit and then press refresh. And here we are. We have these rules right here. We just copied them. So I think it was it about the rules. So for now, it seems to me that we spoke about the rules. Now I think that we're going to check the phrases. We open them right here and we open phrases. And as we can see here, the interface looks very similar to what we've seen in the rules section. This is a phrase, and to create a new phrase, you need to press create. And first of all, after we change the language of the phrase, you need to select the type of phrase. And what types of phrase do we have? Greetings of the known, which is a phrase which is pronounced by the robot when the robot sees somebody which is in the database of the robot. Greeting of the unknown, when the robot greets somebody who is not in its database. Promotional phrases are the phrases which are pronounced by the robot when the robot is idling, when nobody comes up to it. Something like, hey, come up to me. Unrecognized phrases are the phrases which are pronounced by the robot when the robot has no idea what to answer, and these are something like, I have no idea, could you please repeat, and like this. Questionnaire are the phrases which are pronounced by the robot when the robot is in the mode of the loyalty program, and we can create some phrases. Then the robot will ask human, and the replies, the answers to these questions will be saved on the hard drive of the robot. Okay, so the next ones are the dialogue phrases. The dialogue phrases or the additional phrases are added to the answer of the robot, and each time using a phrase or an answer, it has a chance of adding these phrases to the answer. So, an example here. Imagine that you ask the robot, what time is it? And it tells you, it is 3 p.m. now. Plus, it adds a dialogue phrase. By the way, have you seen our new discount? Or something like this. And the human says, no. And the robot says, but here it is. Let me show you. So these phrases are used to not only to change the topic of the dialogue, because when some people buy a robot, they are pretty surprised that the customers are going to ask him questions like, who is the Terminator, or do you know Wall-E, or something like this, but they are not going to ask the robot about the items or about the services. So it will help you to change the topic of the dialogue of the robot. Plus, sometimes people don't know what to ask or what to tell to the robot. So it helps to encourage people to talk to the robot. Next one is greeting after the acquaintance. So this phrase is pronounced by the robot after the robot completed the meeting procedure or the acquaintance procedure. So when the robot remembered the face of the person. By default, it is something like, okay, Dan, now I know you, now you are my friend, or something like this.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, yeah. And this is it. These ones are for testing and they are not used right now. Please make sure to choose the type of the phrase, greeting of the unknown, because if you do not do it, the phrase is not going to work at all. So as we can see, most of the fields are the same as in the rules, but we do not have the field robot hears, and we do not have the field input anchor right here. These fields are the same, and this is it. By the way, if you add at least one phrase in each category, then the phrases of this category are not going to be working from the main database. So if you add at least one promotional phrase, then the robot is not going to pronounce phrases from the general database.
That's why make sure that you add more than at least 5-10 phrases so that the robot says different phrases, not one and the same.
So now I think we should speak about the anchors. So let's go to the back to the rules and create a rule, a new rule. As we can see, we created it. Let's change the language of the rule into English. Here, let's choose an output anchor right here. Right now, I'm going to add some text here. So, for example, maybe like this. Imagine that a robot for a candy shop or something. Like this. Then we're going to create a rule. We're going to change the language. And we're going to choose test demo. I don't know what kind of candies are there. Chocolate, probably, or cola.
Cola.
Okay, cola. That'd be cola. You are. Here you are. So we created a complex dialog right here. When a person comes up to the robot and says, "Hey, I want a candy," and the rule is activated, the robot answers, "Which candy do you want?" And we can see here that we have the output anchor, and we have the input anchor in this rule, and we have a cola option. And the robot will answer, "Here you are." What we can do here is we can create multiple anchors. We can create a pretty complicated and complex dialog. For example, what if we create a new rule like this and we change it to like this? Here you are. So now it is going to work this way. Hey, give me a candy. Which candy do you want? Cola or chocolate? You'll need it to create your own complex dialogues for the robot.
If the person says something different, for example, which candy do you want? I want to buy cosmetics.
Okay.
Then the robot can see that it is not chocolate, it's not cola. Then it goes to the database of the robot, of the owner, and so on, to find the answer to this question. And also, to make it more convenient and easy to see, you can use the action field and write there a question. Could you show, please?
Sure. Just a second.
You should write question, then the question itself. For example, in our case, which candy do you want? And after the question mark, you should write the variants, cola and chocolate. So you can choose by saying, pronouncing the word, or by tapping, and the robot will understand in both the cases.
For now, this is it for the complex dialogues.
Let's have a few words about the asterisks in the robot hears field.
We already covered that.
I mean, if you just put asterisks and nothing else, that means that this rule will be triggered if, let's just show.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We have the same anchor test as the input anchor, and here we have just asterisks. This rule will be triggered if after the question, which candy do you want, the person says something different, not cola or not chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
If we have this rule, we can say, for example, please repeat again.
Yeah, sure.
Or any text that you would like to say. It will be, and if we put the same output anchor, that means that the robot again will be waiting for the answer to the question, which candy do you want, cola or chocolate. It might be dangerous because the robot will ask the question every time until you say the correct answer, and the correct answers are chocolate and cola.
Mm-hmm.
But in some cases it can be good.
Now what we have here, we have controller activated phrases. Let's create a new one. For example, hello humans. And of course, we'll change the language of it into English. And we'll just, delete that one. Okay, as you can see here, we've created a phrase. As you can see here, we've created a phrase, controller activated phrase. What for do we use them and how to use them? And what are they? Okay, so the controller activated phrases are the phrases which are used for a certain scenario. For example, imagine that you have something like you want your robot to work on the stage, you want it to pronounce the exact phrases with the exact timing. That's why you add these phrases and you activate the controller activated mode, the controller activated phrases mode, and the robot stops hearing any phrases, any questions of other people, and you just press a combination of buttons on your controller, and the robot just pronounces each phrase one by one. That's it. The robot doesn't hear anything. The robot pronounces them only when you press the exact buttons, and it is good for the stage, for the reporters, for stuff like this.
Yeah, don't forget to put the robot, to choose the robot. In our case, we don't have any robots at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we can't choose it. But you need to choose one of your robots to make this phrase work.
Mm-hmm.
If you save this phrase, you can see that it is highlighted in red with the red color.
Mm-hmm.
And it means that something is wrong. The robot is not specified.
Also, make sure to check the phrases before your event.
Right.
Because sometimes the phrases are too long, sometimes the pronunciation of the phrases is incorrect, sometimes the phrases are too monotonous, or sometimes people who work with the robot on the stage, they have no idea about the phrase, so make sure,
it's better to double check.
Yeah, double check and make something like a rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now the analytics. If we open the analytics, we can see here visitors dialogues, and visitor dialogues full. The visitor dialogues are the dialogues, it's like a history, like the logs of the conversations of the robot. These ones are for the last days, and the full is for like it's a full history of dialogues of the robot.
We
We'll
don't-
open it, of course, but of course it is empty here because we have no robot right here. But we're going to make a screenshot and attach it
Yeah.
right here. And by the way, let's speak about the levels of the linguistic database.
Yeah, good idea.
So the first level of the database is the robot database, and you put information which is specific to each robot. For example, you have two robots, and one of them works at a hotel, and the second one works
At the exhibition.
at the expo exhibition. If you ask one robot, tell me something interesting, robot number one will be telling you one set of facts. Robot number two will be telling you something about exhibition.
Or where are you? Where are we?
Yeah.
What is your name?
Mm-hmm.
These are special questions, and every robot should have its own answer to these questions.
This is the first layer. The second layer is the database of the owner. Well, in this database, we can create phrases which are phrases or rules which are for all of the robots of the owner. And for example, who is your father? For a robot, well, I believe that if one owner has multiple robots, then the answer will be the same for all of them. Next one is the general database. This is the database of company Promobot, and unfortunately you do not have access to it. Then we have the internet. So if the robot didn't find an answer to a question, it will go right there. It will try to find an answer on the internet using the algorithms. If it doesn't succeed, then it's going to get lower. Then we have the low priority. We have the low priority of the robot, of the owner, of the general database. It is going to search for the answer there.
We will put a screenshot here.
Yeah, we'll put a screenshot. And then what we have is the unrecognized phrases. These are the phrases which are pronounced by the robot when the robot has no idea what to answer. Something like, "Hey, could you please repeat? I didn't get that." So let's double check.
Let's explain that if you don't like the answer from the general database and you don't have access to it, then you can create your own rule with the answer that you would like to hear. For example, the robot is asked, "What is your name?" Now the robot might answer, "My name is Promobot, nice to see you here." But you want another answer. Then you go to the rules section and create a rule. In the robot hears field, you put the keywords that mean the question, "What's your name? What is your name?" And so on. And in the answer field, you put the answer that you would like. And because of the priority of the levels of the linguistic database, the robot will answer with phrase, with your answer. And we have already mentioned that if you don't like any phrase from the general database, you create your own phrase of this type, and the robot will use only them.
By the way, to create a new case, you go to this section, then you press create. You enter stuff in these fields. If you want to create a new category, you do the same here. And an anchor is created right here, like this. And that's it. So the analytics, we've spoke about the analytics, and I think it was it. So now about the linguistic database in general, it is very important to be very precise, adding new phrases, adding new rules to the database. Make sure to double check everything twice. If you understand that your robot doesn't know something, add it to your database, add as many options, as many variants as possible. Don't create too many rules. Probably sometimes it is better to create one rule, but with some robot hears fields. Make sure to set the type of phrase for a phrase when you create it.
And the robot when you create a controller activated phrase.
Correct. Be creative and your content will be great.
Yeah. If you have any questions, please ask them in the technical support chat and we will help you.
And by the way, each time you create something or you make any changes are automatically applied to your robot if it has internet right now.
Yeah, right.
Thank you for your attention. We hope that it was very helpful.
And good luck.
Good luck. Have a nice day.